it's hard enough to know where we are in the cycle, much less to tune into wherever somebody else is. But sometimes the little piece of information here end up incredibly useful to someone in their inner struggles, or to know that these inner puzzles are going on, or inner accents are going on as the outer things are happening. Just because someone's in bed, sick, being told they're going to die, it doesn't mean their inner progression, their inner soul is not wide awake and learning how come this process is going. It's not that there's other dialogues that can't be engaged in that are totally ennobling and heartfelt. So we have our separate ego, my soul, where I'm going to, this is what I need, this is where I'm going, this is where I believe I have to go to this attitude's coming out. I used to be like that, I'm not like that now, I'm going like this now. This is my soul, my destiny, I have to do this. My inner soul, this part of our sun. But it's still ego-based part of the sun, as long as it's yours. And that ego sun, that ego soul is heading across 90 years, 90 days, heading across a lifetime into the ocean of all kinds of souls, of oneness. So all my separate things are just little steps in the base till I lose myself and get dissolved in this sense of oneness, and there's no me anymore. How can that be? Okay, so things like faith, belief, trust, inner qualities of each sign are there. And so as your progressed sun's going through it, you have the outer interpretation, the way of working with it, but there's this inner part, you're working on the quality, the trust. You're working on the truth of the trust in Scorpio. You're working on the truth of the trust and not just the anger and the force or the power or the judgment. It's easy to say, we get all these experiences and then you have to come back and work and grow through them or assimilate them outwardly, 12 years, and put it in perspective, your life path and where you're going. This is your sun, progress sun, your life path, inwardly, to what your soul is going to experience, what you're going to digest, what's going to be meaningful, what's going to make the heart grow. Oh, so this soul, this love, this inner sense of inner composure, well-being, that's your sun. So we do still have, this is for my good well-being, this is not, and we do have a separative sense of this my soul. There's my soul, and then of course looking for my soulmate. As soon as you say that, you're looking for someone out there that's connected to your inner mate that you're going to be together with. As soon as that relation doesn't work, it's looking for the next soulmate. So that's still, it's a powerful story, a powerful experience, but it's still different than this. It's involved with this, but we're going through, and it's how you become one with everyone. If you fall in love, you have to love everyone, not just one person. It expands to include everyone, life, being. It's a totally mystical process. So as the sun goes along, it's going to make aspects to the planet. So this is just a closer look of the sun going through the pentans and going along. And there's my sun in Libra. It's going to go along. And then my sun goes along, goes into Scorpio, then hits Jupiter 2 years, and hits Mercury for 2 years, and hits Mars for 2 years. But Mercury and Mars are close, so the 3 or 4 years all patched up together, which we talked about last week. And then it goes along, it goes down, hit my IC a couple of years, then hit my Venus. Then it goes along, and for the next while, up till now, it's been squares and other aspects. There's no more conjunctions. This is just Martian direct conjunctions, primary factors, touches certain stars. So it's going along this process. It's set for the time you're born. It's what you're going to grow through. But what is it? What does it mean? It's a mystery. So, I mean, the sun is just burning. We're just burning. Our heart's just burning. But it's amazing how much crust, how much things we can pollution, how much stuff we can put on our own heart, how many thoughts, how many negative thoughts, how many desires, how many things come up that tarnish and try and put clouds around our radiant heart. So if a sun is a star and your sun is your star, how bright are you supposed to burn? How much love is is too much? How much is too little? How can there even be anything as too much love or too little? Like, what is it? Are you burning? That's the puzzle of the progressed sun. So we're going to go. So as you go along, your progressed sun is going to, over 90 years, make a conjunction, square, or opposition to every planet and every point in your chart. It's going to run into each planet. Okay, and as it does, you're going to have a 2-year engagement with that planet. So when you start with your progressed sun, I'm going to just start with each planet, sun to Mercury. We look at the progressed sun to Mercury. You may come to a point where your progressed sun may come up in conjunction Mercury, or your Mercury may be on the other side of the sun, and it may not have a conjunction. It may go forward. You may have to wait till you get up to 45, 60 degrees of the square. You get one of the aspects to it for the Mercury to become. But when that happens, the sun, the soul, this puzzle is being interwoven with a mental matrix. So those are a couple of years when you're really in your ego, in your life, you're trying to think, or you're convinced you're thinking spiritually, or your soul confidence, your inner attitude comes in and affects the way you're thinking. And this can be it can be a business time, it can be a relationship, it can be time, it can be writing time, it can be so many ways you can communicate, but it puts importance, the soulful importance on the Mercury when it touches it, whether it's conjunction, square, even a sextile triangle, it puts importance on that Mercury, and that Mercury comes up in your ego world to try and interpret. There's a new purpose, there's a new way of thinking, so there's a new way to do things. I gotta try and think it. It brings out the mental interpretation of this soulful evolution. So whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, it's happy thoughts, it's sad thoughts, it's bad thoughts, it's mean thoughts, it's hard thoughts, it's whatever thoughts, the soul will still gain the experience of those thoughts. It's still going to gain the 2 years of your mental processing around its presence within you, of this attitude within coming up to touch your Mercury functioning out in the world. There's an inner voice going, so you got all the things going outwardly with your mind you're thinking about, but there's this inner confidence or inner purpose coming in within it that's inside of that. Now, sometimes that can be really reinforcing. Sometimes they can be contradictory. Like, I got everything set up just when I got it all figured out, and all of a sudden there's other things that are making you more aware, deeper, and that don't relate to the way you were thinking before. It's like you're in a waterfall, or suddenly you're in this river. Like the whole current comes in of this inner repercussions, and how it shows outwardly can be through confidence, it can be through insecurity, it can be through can be through an over-identification. It can empower your Mercury, but that's going out into the ego world. But really, the Mercury is supposed to be listening to the sun, listening within. That's a very difficult thing for Mercury to do when it's so busy thinking all the things to take care of and all the new things to do out in the world, to try and turn it in to sense this process, to sense this inner light, this inner purpose working through. That's incredible. So when we're working, we're going to say, oh, this happened to me then, or this happened to me then, I went through this there. We're going to have an interpretation of what went on, but an experience. What was this inner side? What was inside of that? It's a puzzle. It's not something you can quickly say. It's something you're going to work on for years, 2 years to experience it, a lifetime to even fathom it or digest it. But it changes the course of your life. It reinforces it. If you're doing wrong things, it comes out as voice of conscience. If you're doing right things, it will come out as kind of almost over arrogance or overconfidence and power of thinking. But nobody writes a book or writes something without having some inner confidence or some things within it. Well, there are other reasons, but these are times where your soul is empowering your mind. It's interacting with it. Conjunctions really powerfully directly, but even the squares, opposite, the sextiles, the trines, really it's always functioning. Every degree is an aspect. There's 360 different aspects, and each one is unique and distinct as part of the cycle. And the sun is relating to that Mercury and trying to light it up always. But boy, Mercury isn't always paying attention, just running along, going and thinking, well, it's going along with it. And it's when the sun comes up and it hits it, it feels the heat, and it gets either empowered or like it gets this inner presence coming within it. Consciously or unconsciously, depends what level you're living out in your transits, out in the world. But this is going on. Now, you can go through these things totally unconsciously and not even know they're going on, which for 30, 40 years, easy to be unconscious. I mean, the first 30 years of your life, it's hard to even begin to, you can think you're conscious. You can think you're conscious. But the maturity hasn't set in to feel these cycles. It's a puzzle. It's an inner voice. So teaching the Mercury to listen to an inner voice, to listen to the heart, to go in. It's happening anyways. The heart's affecting it anyways, but Mercury's not always a good listener, not always, it's not following the orders where you're not. I mean, heartfelt thinking is an incredible thing that someone talks to you from the heart. We listen, we hear it. But boy, to cultivate heartfelt thinking instead of mental thinking or ego thinking, that's a mystical process. That takes time to develop. That's a yoga. That's something that one that takes time to listen, to learn to unthink, to learn to listen, to turn the mind in, to let the mind be ruled by love, not by circumstances and events and puzzles or curiosity. To develop an inner curiosity of mystical things, of inner things, that's the power of the sun, progressed sun coming up and affecting the Mercury. That's the challenge that goes on. So it's a double standard here. There's two sides. You're going to see all the outer things. It's going to be a puzzle to where was the heart? What was I learning through? What was I not learning through that? Or like you're beginning to see the measurement of how superficial or how externally you're living, because you can go through these things and not be conscious that this was going on. And then later on, you may have to come back and say, oh, like it has always been going on. This evolution has always been there. So this is as close as the definition that I would try and get to that Mercury. Yes, you can see the Mercury's in your house, it's in your sign, your Mercury in your chart works in a certain way. And that's what's being enlightened. That's what's being challenged from wherever the progressed sun is. At every degree, it's being challenged as it goes around. But when it gets within an aspect, it starts to be much more critical, much more phenomenal. And at this point, the squares or oppositions hardly matter. They'll matter to the worldly Mercury. They hardly matter to the sun, to the soul. It's just building up that intensity, and it's how well you can go from you're so sure of what you're thinking, but sometimes the inner confidence has to dissolve some of the thinking to make it more aware, to let some of the light shed. Sometimes the thinking are clouds, our worries, our doubts, our fears. They're mental clouds that are blocking the sunlight from coming through. Wow. How do we restore innocence? How do we allow us to be so simple that we can listen within and let that light shine through our thinking? Some poets, some mystical rays, some people have some prayers or bhajans, or some people have this. They brought through these things. They brought through great ideas, profound ideas. Okay, so this is. I mean, we can stay on any one of these and do weeks on any one just thinking about it. We're just touching here so you're able to work on with a bit. We got to go through all the planets on it. So in transits, we get Mercury for 3-month cycles. In progressions, we get 90 years of trying to listen with a few 2-year periods, maybe 10 2-year periods where we're really being something's inward going on, and we're interpreting it either according to how we think outwardly, and we're adding it in, or we're learning to realize it's not including what's outward, there's something else going on, and you turn in. And often we're not turning in from this natural world until people die, till we get our heart broken, till everything, and we realize there's something else going on.